all of these metals are in short supply, and they're all critical metals. And at the very apex, the silver, which has the potential to rise the largest percentage of all the metals. It doesn't have to be first out of the box. When it happens, it's going to be epic. When it turns, if it's in the midst of the other super spikes that Dave Forrest talks about, it's going to be magnified. This thing could leave gaps of $5, $10, $20 we've never seen before.
Here at Liberty and Finance, we're licensed brokers with Miles Franklin. We are standing by the inventory, ready to make sure you get what you need, even into the wee hours of night and on weekends, because preparedness doesn't stop. Call us 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237.
Hey everyone, this is Elijah K. Johnson with Liberty and Finance. And back with us today on this Independence Day, July 4th, is our good friend David Smith, the senior analyst at the Morgan Report. David, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's good to be here, Elijah. Wonderful day. Talk about the metals, miners, and Republican freedom.
Definitely. And I wanted to have you on today because we have seen a dramatic move in silver just in the last couple days here. We've seen it trade below $20. What are your thoughts on this market movement we've seen?
I'm not really particularly concerned about whether silver is above or below $20. I've long said this, it loves to break support systems and create panic, and it loves to fake out people on the upside, and I'm just looking today. Now, these are 20-minute delays, and I know the U.S. markets are closed today, most of them, but I'm looking at, let's see, crude is trading up $2, in kind of the afternoon trading. Gold is up 6, silver's up 27, still below $20, as you said, but, these things bang around, and when they turn around, gold usually leads, and it usually doesn't put out a sign that says we're leading now. And I think jumping around when you see these little movements, which are chart painting and micro noises, and people, the last sellers getting out, just let them do their thing, and then let the market give you a better indication of what you should be doing. If this is a price that is good for you and you can get low premiums, get some more if it works. But don't try to. Some people try to finesse every micro movement of the market, and all that is a way to go bankrupt and be small position with the big position you originally had, because you're continually trying to contradict yourself.
Now, this is the lowest we've seen silver in a couple of years now. And so it doesn't seem like you're concerned about it falling lower, or where do you see it going from here?
I'm not concerned about it falling lower because I test my premise and what's changed. Is there something even marginally, fundamentally changed other than some, call from Goldman Sachs or something, or some analyst we've never heard of, that there's going to be a big move to $400 gold and $10 silver, by someone that's been wrong every time. I mean, if those are your gurus, keep following them, but don't just pick them out of the hat and say, oh, well, this guy's against what I'm saying, I guess I'm wrong. I mean, that's a good way to stay or end up in the poorhouse.
Your perspective going forward then, for people looking to get into silver, kind of dollar cost averaging from here, or what is your take on how people should be approaching the silver market right now?
Absolutely. Hopefully they have some silver by now. If they don't, they're really pushing themselves out on the edge there. But dollar cost averaging is always a feature. I don't care who you are. Nobody's big enough to go all in and get it right. You should go in thirds. If you have some, buy thirds or buy a quarter. If you want to buy 1,000 ounces of silver and there's a good price that Andy has, buy 500, or buy 300, and look to buy 700 more. Hope it goes lower. You're turning the psychology on its head by wanting prices to go lower. Buying all you can afford at one time is putting yourself in the bullseye between your eyes by Mr. Market's sniper.
I think that's very interesting, really turning the psychology on its head there, because that's the way that people should be thinking, right? If we believe the thesis for silver, right? If we think that silver is eventually going higher, if it's on sale right now, if it falls lower, then it's just even more on sale. So I know that's something that Rick Rule really points to all the time, is that if something is on sale and it falls lower, then it's even just more on sale, and it's another buying opportunity.
Right. And, Rick also says, you don't have to be mindless about this. Just because it's cheaper, you don't automatically have to buy like Pablo's dog. You go back and you say, is my premise still valid? Is there something that I've missed? And if there is, then you change your behavior. If there isn't, then you see about adding more. I mean, it's common sense, but common sense is hard to affect when you're emotional.
Now, looking into the rest of the summer, your take on where we might be headed towards here if we look possibly to Labor Day?
I think that we created what turned out maybe not to be the summer low. It was the penultimate low, it looks like. There's a lower one, I guess, right now. Sometimes the lowest one is in late August. Sometimes it's in late June. Of the two, usually it's the other way around. But this time, with all this other stuff going on, it's a reverse. And so you have an opportunity to watch a little more. You don't have to buy today. You could buy a third today. You could buy 10% today. And like Stu Thompson says, buy or sell less than is rational. And if you were going to buy 500 ounces today and you buy 100, and it goes down by another $1, you're very excited because you didn't buy that other 400, and now you can buy it if you want, or you can buy another 200. And make it make sense so that you're not paying a ton of commissions by buying 25 ounces at a time. But give yourself flexibility and give yourself permission to be wrong. Almost all of the biggest names are wrong over half the time, but they get it right enough of the time that the losers make up for the winners, and they get the structure right, and they get the trend right, and all the great traders are that way. So do it that way and be relaxed. Enjoy your family. Keep the balance. Go fishing. You're not going to take this with you, but try to get as much as you can to use now in a way that's rational and doesn't destroy the rest of your life. It's a part of your life. It's not your life, but it's an important part.
And definitely sticking to a plan that you have, I think, is very important, and not reacting to the noise. If you could speak about this.
Listen to what's going on. Be as informed as you want, or as little. Don't react on everything you hear. React on very little of what you hear. React on only the most trusted people that you listen to. If they got it right 5 times in a row, they might be wrong the 6th time. Just don't have any guru that no matter what they say, you're slavishly paying attention to. Just you're becoming your own expert. If you didn't want to learn and weren't going to get better, why would you listen to any of us? You're supposed to pick up tidbits from us and add that or subtract from your own philosophy as you see fit, because it's you, it's not us. You're responsible for what you end up as, just like we are, And I've grown a lot by listening to all sorts of people and not listening to some, and finding others that I no longer listen to. It's an evolving process. We're always growing. We're always trying to do a little better. And I'm trying to share some of the best thinking I have at a given time with others, not as advice, but as something to stimulate their thinking. The more you think, the more you grow, the better chance you have to get it right. And if you keep at it long enough, you're going to get it right, or you're going to lose interest, or you're going to be proven wrong and run out of time. And so, what's wrong with any of that?
And what we have seen is definitely, I guess, weakness in silver, as we've seen weakness in the stock market. If we do see a further downside in the stock market, especially after Labor Day, what is your take on, do you think metals, this will be kind of the reversal moment for metals, or what do you see happening in the metals markets if we do see further downside for stocks?
We may get signals around the next holiday that are misleading or are true. We won't know that until we see follow through. If right after the markets reopen in September, people come back to work, they have a different frame of mind, they're pumped about making some money for Christmas. All these things have gotten better or worse or stayed the same in Ukraine. the food problem is going to start hitting us big time on a kind of a hammer blow basis around the world over the next weeks and months, becoming pretty obvious by the end of this month, becoming dire into the late fall and early summer. I can't imagine how Egypt's going to do with 100% of their required grains coming from Ukraine when they stop coming. All the grains that they eat come from there. There's half a dozen other countries, and I can send it to you. But there's a chart I saw a couple of days ago. The number of countries and the percentage of the grains and oils and gases and things that they get from Ukraine, Europe, Bulgaria, India, Russia, and it isn't pretty. The East seems to have gone off on a tangent of throwing as many things at the wall with as many sub-objectives as possible to try to do all sorts of things, destroy Russia, strengthen NATO, knock Russia out of the game financially, damage the SWIFT system by doing things that terrorize people that don't follow all the Fed's rules, by making so many mistakes that you can hardly find out where they didn't make a mistake, and by doing all of this on the edge of what potentially is the most massive demand situation for commodities in our lifetime. And Goldman wrote a big report last year saying this is going to be a never before seen commodities massive blowout thing, where all of these metals are in short supply, and they're all critical metals. And at the very apex, the silver, which has the potential to rise the largest percentage of all the metals. It doesn't have to be first out of the box. When it happens, it's going to be epic. When it turns, if it's in the midst of the other super spikes that Dave Forrest talks about, it's going to be magnified. This thing could leave gaps of $5, $10, $20 we've never seen before. I know that sounds crazy, but don't think that you can look at a chart and find where that's going to stop. You can't. Nobody can. Just respond to it, and don't sell out too soon, and don't hang around for the last eighth. Take a big chunk out, figure out what's enough for you, take it out and keep it safe, and you'll be very, very happy. And don't expect this thing to run 30 years. It may be shorter than you think. The boom will be shorter. The echo will go on. You can make money, but the big money is going to be in the booms, and the easiest money to get out is in the booms when everybody wants what you have. Rick Rule wasn't selling. He didn't wait to start selling Paladin at $9. He was feeding it to the quackers, to the ducks at $3, $4, and $5. Sure, he sold at $3 instead of $9. But do you know that he made 30,000% at $3 versus a penny? Trying to make another 60,000 at $9. I'm sure Rick was real happy that he took 30,000% out rather than 90,000, or rather than he held it until it went back to $1 and then went to zero. I don't think Rick would have liked that.
And it does seem like there is, if we look at the potential upside, it definitely seems like there's quite a bit of potential upside for silver, it being below its 1980 high. And if we look at mining stocks right now, even for gold as well, they are quite low right now. If we look at the indices, your perspective on the upside from here we could see in the mining stocks?
There is a trifecta going on in the three things you mentioned that I don't know that has ever occurred at the same time, at the same magnitude in my lifetime, and I've been around for a few years. One is what you just mentioned. I put a chart in, I wrote for, I think it was Money Metals a few days ago. It's out there now on different sites. People have seen this chart before. The only chart that shows the only metal that's one half of its selling price that it was in 1980, that's silver. I mean, lead's up 1,000%. Do you know the biggest commodity move since 1920 in the last 2 years? Coal, 750% in the midst of a green revolution. So all these things have just gone up, and not all of them yet. I think we have these other things I mentioned that are still there. Uranium could go 150 to 300. It's not going to stay there, but it's going to have a massive move. Nickel's probably got another massive move in it. Wheat could end up at $20 or $25 or $50. Who knows? I said copper. Copper may drop to $3. It did a chart drop here recently before it goes to $5. You don't buy it. You either buy it 320 or 310, or you buy it 510. You don't buy in the middle and get chewed up. And then finally at some point, whether it's concurrently a little bit, because these won't stretch themselves out in vertical lines. They'll overlap a little bit. Then you'll see gold, silver. Gold will probably lead silver. Silver and gold will play tag team. And then finally, silver will absolutely make a massive blow off top that will exceed what most people can believe. It'll be in 3 digits, and then it'll go back and settle someplace in a higher range. You won't see $25 anytime soon. You may see something between, say, 55 and 90 for a long time, or maybe a lot higher. But don't expect it to stay at 3 or 4 or 500 indefinitely. That could be a multi-month spike. Get a big chunk of money out of there if it does that, and don't try to go back in and buy and be sexy and buy at 95. Keep what you keep, and keep a position as long as you can. Follow the sacrifice throw position. Look at the uranium chart to see how these super spikes are probably going to build out in my view, and in the probable order, in my view.
All right. Well, David, we really appreciate your time today, especially on this holiday, July 4th. Before we let you go, where can our viewers find you online, and any last thoughts you'd like to add?
Well, they can find me at Money Metals. They can find me the Morgan Report monthly contributor. They can find me. I've got a fairly recent couple articles in on the Prospector News. They can go over to load.one, go over to agx.lode.one and look at the load silver gold cryptographic project there. They're getting ready for a huge expansion in their proprietary model, and in their their value proposition to people that have digital gold and silver that's stored in vaults around the world. Take a look at it and see if it looks interesting to you. Consider joining up, or at least getting on the list, and maybe participating. Things are going to really rocket here over the next 6 months. And I think all the things we've talked about here, paying attention to the Dave Forrest super spikes, paying attention to what David Morgan teaches, pay attention to the Pareto principle, which I've discussed, get the best of the best. I think the most, quote, and I don't say this in a demeaning way, the most ordinary investor listening to this, if you have $10,000 in your account, I think you have a chance to change your wealth profile, move it up several levels if you make a few correct decisions, listening to yourself, getting educated, taking a few risks, because if you don't do anything, you're taking a risk. Doing nothing can be riskier than doing something that's reasonably well informed. And if you really get it right a few times, I mean, there are some things we're following. I follow one stock in the Morgan Report that I have a lot of shares in. It literally could go from cents to dollars if what they think they have in Saskatchewan in uranium and rare earths pans out. And it would be a mania. It would be, if it goes to dollars, part of it would be that FOMO thing that might not hold it up there. But I mean, my gosh, when you have an asymmetric series of situations like that, usually it's just one or two. All the things I've talked about have that same kind of potential to create transformational wealth, if not generational wealth, that can be passed on. So take it seriously and lay off the TV, YouTube for a while, and be a little more intentional about listening to you guys who have a wonderful track record and who have proven honest for decades, and make a few right decisions, and then bask in the sun. Train hard and live easy.
Well, David, once again, thank you so much for your time, and God bless. Take
care, Elijah. Bye-bye.
Miles Franklin Precious Metals is one of America's oldest and most trusted bullion dealers. Miles Franklin is A+ rated and accredited by the Better Business Bureau, licensed and bonded, and has 0 complaints ever registered. Here at Liberty and Finance, we are licensed brokers with Miles Franklin. To order, simply call us, discuss your needs, and we will let you know our live inventory, prices, and availability, and lock in your order over the phone. Once your order is locked, the price is held for you regardless of market fluctuations, and the metals are reserved for you awaiting your settled payment. Within 1 business day of ordering, you will receive an email invoice detailing the order and payment instructions. Miles Franklin accepts payments by bank wire, ACH or electronic check, money order, check mailed priority mail, and cryptocurrency. The fastest forms of payment are bank wire and cryptocurrency. Upon settled payment, metals will ship out within 3 to 5 business days. You will receive tracking information via email. Domestic shipping charges are $15 for any order under 500 ounces of silver or 10 ounces of gold. For orders larger than that, domestic shipping is free. The package will be double boxed, fully insured, and labeled discreetly, with no indication of the contents inside. For your privacy, the name Miles Franklin will not even be on the package. To talk to myself, Elijah, my brother Kaiser, or my father Dunnigan, call 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237.